Hi everyone, welcome to the lecture on evolution of public policy. Public policy as an academic discipline is a recent origin. Already we discussed it in the previous classes. A steady development of the subject took place, particularly after 1970s, as a final stage of development of public administration. There are many major historic public policy documents that help to shape the modern approach to how policy is created. Magna Carta of 1215 can be considered as one of the first evidences of a policy formulation. A Magna Carta stands as one of the most prominent and long-standing pieces of public policy in history. It was a Charter of Rights agreed to by King John of England on 15 June 1250. Was the Great Charter of Liberties. It was first drafted by Stephen Langton, the Archbishop of Canterbury, to make peace between the unpopular king and a group of rebel barons. They are the major landowners. And it promised the protection of church rights, protection for the baron from illegal imprisonment, access to smooth justice, and limitation on feudal payments to the church, etc. Feudal payments to the crown, etc. So, after some more time, the charter was not a success. Neither group, neither the king nor the barons was ready to accept the charter, and it was annulled, means declared as invalid by Pope Innocent III, leading to the First Barons' War. So, what is the importance of Magna Carta here? So, why here I quote the example of Magna Carta is that Magna Carta is a historic evidence or an instant which showed for the first time the idea that there should be checks on government power. When we try to understand the evolution of public policy, it is a fact that there is no adequate focus on public policy in the political setting during any time of the history, even in ancient or medieval period. It is only in the modern period it is emerged as a subject, particularly after World War period. But the content was there as a process or a part of administration. Policy making and implementation was one of the process of political setting. But no political thinker had given adequate attention to the public policy as a concept or as a special field in political system. For a clear understanding of the evolution of public policy, the stages of or the evolution of public policy can be categorized in three parts. First one, ancient, second one, medieval, and third one, modern. Ancient period consists of start from the emergence of Greek and Roman empires. It's from 427 BC and medieval period means the period starts from 1400 to 1600 period. The period of Renaissance, which is immediately after the Middle Ages, and in the modern period, we can see the exclusive growth of public administration and the public policy. And to understand clearly, the modern period is again categorized into three: pre and post First World War period, post Second World War period, and current period. In the ancient time, the study of political system in the Western tradition is first found in ancient Greece. The study of political science has a clear set of antecedents, such as in moral philosophy, political economy, history, etc. All these disciplines concern with normative determination of what ought to be and with deducing the characteristics and functions of an ideal state. But public policy as a concept was not a concern of any of these disciplines. In ancient time in India, the antecedents of politics can be traced back to Rigveda, Samhitas, Brahmanas, Buddhist Pali canons, etc. And Chanakya, means Kaudilya, was a teacher of political science at Takshashila University, and later the Prime Minister of Mauryan Emperor Chandragupta Maurya, and he wrote the Arthashastra, and he was also the principal advisor of Chandragupta, and he advised various measures to reform the governing system of Maurya Empire. Hence, we can also say that the policy, the process of the content of policy was there, but adequate attention was not given to it. That's a fact. During the time of ancient Rome, famous historians like Polybius and Livy documented the rise of the Roman Republic and the organization and histories of other nations, while statesmen like Caesar and Cicero provided us with examples of the politics of the Republic and Rome's empire and wars. The study of politics during this age was oriented towards understanding history, methods of governing, and describing the operation of governments, but no orientation to public policy was there. In the medieval period, this period starts from the collapse of Roman civilization in the 5th century to the period of Renaissance. During this time, the study of politics was widespread in the churches and courts, and the works of St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas synthesized current philosophies and political traditions with those of Christianity, redefining the borders between what was religion and what was political. Niccolo Machiavelli had established direct empirical observation of political system, and in Islamic states they followed Aristotelian political analysis, and whereas policy perspective was absent. When we come to the modern period again categorized into pre and post First World War period, post Second World War period, and current era, which starts from 1970s. It is just for a clear understanding of uh, the current development, means in the modern development of the development of public policy in the modern period. Okay. Public policy of 20th century was marked primarily by expansion of government, bureaucracy and services to the public. During First World War, Woodrow Wilson acted as a bellwether for this extensive change in American public policy. The US State Department notes that prior to Wilson, American governing system maintained a largely separatist approach to the politics of Western Europe. Wilson brought America and Western Europe together as allies, and he was instrumental in creating the League of Nations, the first international policy organization designed to mediate international disputes. The emergence of behaviorist approach in political science was a major development after the First World War in social sciences. It represented a sharp break from previous traditional approaches, means historical, philosophic, institutional and legal. These four approaches are considered as the traditional approaches. Historic approaches considered the historic evidences of they depended upon the historical evidences to study the political system and policies, etc. And philosophical approach means they considered the philosophy, various philosophies given by various thinkers as a source of study of political science. And institutional approach means study of political science through various institutions like legislature, executive, judiciary, etc. And legal approach means study of political science through various laws, which is formulated and implemented by various institutions and various governments. And in the 1930s, with the emergence of behavioralism, the behaviorist thinkers condemned these four approaches as and said these approaches are only traditional approaches and it is not a scientific approaches. So they bring a new kind of approach which is called the behaviorist approach. This approach demanded an empirical study, and they said that this kind of approach is very useful for studying political science and policy making. So it is empirical approach. It is unbiased and value free. So value free study should be there in the political science and public policy. So David Easton like thinkers promoted the study of a new kind of study in political science and policy making, which is called as behavioralism. The behavioralism emerged in this period in 1930s. It is a major development in this time. It is associated with the rise of behavioral sciences modeled after the natural sciences. They say that this is a kind of approach like natural sciences. It means a fact-based study instead of values. And behavioralism claim that it can explain political behavior from an unbiased and neutral point of view. And behavioralists advocated for a value-free approach in policy making and for a political decision-making process. In the Second World War period, public policy as an academic field of study emerged in this time during this post Second World War era. And the concept of policy sciences was introduced in 1951 by Harold Laswell. He is considered as the father of public policy. Harold Laswell, in his paper, The Policy Orientation, through his paper, Policy Orientation, the concept of policy sciences was introduced. And the horrific experiences of World War II and the advent of nuclear weapons with the growing concern of national security in USA had created a growing concern in academic field about irrationality of man and future of mankind. This was an era when in field of politics there was an urge towards nurturing more rationality and thus need to restructure political decisions and policy with greater role of knowledge and information. To Laswell, the notion of a policy science framework is that it sets the stage for a comprehensive, integrated understanding concerned with the knowledge of and in the policy making process for the public and civic order. This knowledge means the systematic and empirical studies of how policies are made and put into effect. So here we can see the two kind of theories. The theory made by David Easton means the theory of behavioralism, and the theory made by Laswell is going together. Laswell provides an interdisciplinary approach to understanding, description and practice of the decision-making process within public policy. When we come to David Easton's theory, who later in 1953, first he supported the theory of behavioralism. Later in the post Second World War period, a new kind of theory is emerged as a counter of behavioralism, which is called as post-behavioralism. David Easton also was a prominent exponent of post-behavioralist theory. And when behavioralist says that the approaches should be value free, while here the behavioralist thinkers, when they come to the post-behavioralist time, they said that the theory should be we can't avoid the impact or influence of values in the human related sciences like social science, political science, public policy, etc. So they said values will be a part of it. So David Easton bring the theory of system theory with some values, with the influence of values. So he say that the public policy, he defined that it is the authoritative allocation of values for the whole society. And in the light of his theory, he explained the political system as a total environment, and in this environment, the environment provides inputs to the decision making process, or the inputs means the demands and supports from the people, which is considered as inputs. These inputs go to the political system, and in the through the political system, the environment convert the political system convert the demands and supports into decisions and policies. So the decisions and policies are the outputs of the political system. When the outputs is come out of the political system, there will be the beneficiaries, their responses maybe their support to the government. So again, this feedback come as the inputs to the government, and sometimes they demand more. So the demands also come as an input to the political system. So again, the demands and supports come to the inputs part, and it goes to the political system, and it is converted as decisions and policies. It's a process. It is going on as a continuous process. So this is a system theory put forward by David Easton. However, David Easton's this model is criticized by various thinkers, and they mainly criticize the impact of values in the system. But Easton say values cannot be avoided, and according to him, values involve not only tangible matters such as capital, but also intangible matters like power, reputation, service, etc. And this is the period we can see the developments of mainly theories of Harold Laswell and David Easton in the post-Second World War period. As analytical approaches to social problems were integrated into formal policy processes, policy development, means making and implementation, received significant attention. Over the next 2 decades, during 1950s and 1960s, the policy process followed a broader policy analysis approach, which included a political focus by sociologists and economists based on the Keynesian economic model, which incorporated socio-political and prevailing historical ideals that remained the dominant model prior to the 1960s. And here comes the final stage of evolution of public policy. It starts from 1970s, and it is also considered as the final stage of evolution of public administration also. During this period, public administrators have showed much interest in the related field of policy science, policy making and policy analysis, etc. And the public administrators have given much attention to the policy making process as well as specific public programs during this time, and this period is continuous from 1970s to the present time. This is about the evolution of public policy. Okay, thank you.